Hi, and we're back to part 2 of the matrix. Okay, you've already learned how to do the pricing. Now, you don't have to do this every single time you go to the grocery store. I do mine about every 3 or 4 months. I just kind of look at it, make sure prices haven't changed. It's not an exact science, but as long as you're relatively close, and I've got a little bit of a built-in markup on our units so that you're relatively safe, even if you're a few pennies off. So, try to keep it accurate, but don't break your brain doing it. Okay, we're going to go to tier 1. Now, in tier 1, the first thing you do, I start at the top and work at the bottom. I do my smaller and then work to the larger at the bottom. You might start at the bottom and work at the top. I don't care. It doesn't matter. The computer doesn't care. What you're going to write up here is what it is that you're working on. A 6-inch, I'm going to say classic white. All right, that's what this tier is going to be. Now, but first you need to know how many tiers you need, right? The customer wants, let's say, 120 servings. Okay, so I'm going to guess, and just a standard 2-inch round layer. There's 2 layers in each tier. We're just going to work with standards. You're going to see we have 3-inch rounds, which are normally 1-layer cakes, rectangles, square, petals, hexagons, hearts and ovals. Okay, it's all your basic cake shapes. We're just going to work with rounds so we can run through this really quickly. All right, my customer wants 120 servings. So I'm going to guess. I'm going to say we need a 2-layer 6-inch, 2-layer 9-inch, and a 2-layer 12-inch. All right, we come to the bottom. Oh, that's only 96 servings. So I've got to do something different. Oh, let's see. I want to do... Let's change that 9-inch to a 10-inch round. 104 servings, so we're getting better. Let's change the 6-inch to an 8-inch round. So we have an 8, I'm sorry, that's a 7. So we have an 8, 10, and 12, which I personally think would look silly, but this is just practice. That's 159 servings. See, we're looking down here. That's 159 servings. So that's too many. So we are going to go back to the 6, and let's say we have a 9 and a 14. So we want to get rid of the 12. Whoops. We want to get rid of the 10. Oh, what did I do? Aha! I want 2 of these and 2 of those. All right. And here we have 116. So that's as close as I can get, is 116 servings for a 6-inch round, 9-inch round, and 14-inch round. Yeah, I know that would look funny, but you know what? This is for learning purposes. I probably might actually do a 4-inch and a 6-inch and a 9-inch and a 12-inch or something. I don't know. But for the sake of learning, that's what we're going to do. Now, I get a lot of questions. What do you put in the quantity? Why are we putting 2? Because 1 tier is 2 layers. 1 tier, 2 layers. If I'm making a really small cake, I only want to make 1 layer, I'm going to put a 1 there. It's how many layers. And if for some reason I want to make really tall tiers, I want a 3-layer tier. There you go. That gives me 120 and a half servings. Okay. So that's something else that, it's whatever, how many layers you have and how many 2-inch layers you have on your tiers. All right, so I know I'm going to need a 6-inch, a 9-inch, and a 14-inch for this cake. All right, on the first tier, though, we only put what we're actually using. Okay, now here we're going to put in our recipe. If you're a scratch maker, you use this section right here. If you're a box maker, you use this section right here. You cannot have ingredients in both. If you have an ingredient listed, all of a sudden you have money listed, okay, which affects your bottom line right here, okay? So you cannot have it. You cannot put a box mix and a scratch mix in the same bowl. That wouldn't be good, now would it? Okay? So for the sake of ease, I'm going to show you the box mix. Let's say I use 1 box mix, 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 3 eggs, 1/3 cup of applesauce, and 1 cup of sour cream. That's my extended mix recipe. Okay? Now, my batter when I make up a mix of batter, it normally makes up, when I make a batch of batter, it makes 4.5 cups. If yours only makes 3 cups, you're going to put a 3 there. If it makes 5 cups, you're going to put a 5 there. Mine on average makes 4.5 cups. So that's what I put. And then it does all the math for me. If one batch makes 4.5 cups, and this is telling me that I need 4 cups of batter to make this, I don't quite need a whole batch of batter, which of course I would make one anyway. This is telling me what I need. And this is why we do the cake mix by each and the eggs by each, because we don't want to split a box of cake mix. We don't want to split eggs. So it's going to round up. It's always going to round up. See here in the formula, it's rounding up. All right. So that's that. And then if I did my pricing matrix correctly, it does the math for me right here. And then it tells me my cost, okay? If I needed 2 boxes of cake mix for my one recipe, it would do the multiplication right here. So you put in your recipe as if you're going to make 1 batch of cake. 1 batch, all right? So this says my total cake supplies will be $4.26. I'm going to do the same thing for icing. I'm just putting a basic recipe here. 2 pounds of sugar. 2 pounds of sugar. I need to change this to pounds. 2 pounds of sugar, 1.5 cups of butter, and 1 cup of shortening. Okay. So here we are. And my total cost for icing is $5.96. So I have, not quite, well, a little bit more than, yeah, $10. Okay, $10 invested to make this 1 6-inch layer. Now, for step 3, 4, and 5, you're going to think of all your tiers together. This pretend customer wants to rent the fountain. Replacement cost is $50. Okay, the replacement cost is $50. If I had to go out and buy a new one because she broke it, threw it away, I didn't get it back, whatever, $50. And for the crystal cake stands to go with it, $135. Now, I want to divide by 3 because I charge my brides 1/3 of my cost to rent it. So after 3 times it's paid for, and after that, I'm making profit. You might want to charge half of what you paid for. So you want to divide by 2. It's a divider, divide by, okay? I'm doing 3, which means I paid $50 for it. They're going to rent it for $16.67. I paid $135. They're going to rent it for $45. So their total deposit would be $185. The rental fee would be $61.67. All right. Now here we have, if you notice, we haven't talked fondant at all yet. This is just for fondant decorations or decorative items. You can type whatever you want here. You can type flippy floppy. There you go. All right. You can, whatever your cost is. Okay. Now let's say our markup here, I want to charge 5 times my cost. Then if I paid $25 for the materials, it's $125 that I charge. If you want to charge your cost because you're doing this for your sister and you just want to charge cost, then you put in 1 times your cost. You want to charge 1.5 times your cost? I don't care. It's up to you, but that's what you do. All right. We're going to leave that right where it is. So that means my cost is $70 and I'm charging $105 because for this particular cake, I'm charging 1.5 times my cost. All right, here are your expendable items, things you forget about, your cake circles, dowels, cake boxes, tool trim, dummies, whatever, okay? So for this cake, I need a 6-inch round, a 9-inch round, and a 14-inch round. And here you can type in what you need because it's the blue area, remember? And anything in the blue area, you can change. All right, so let's say I bought cake rounds, 6-inch cake circles. Let's say I bought them in a package of 10 right here, a package of 10. And I paid $6 for that package. That means I'm spending 60 cents each. Don't worry about marking this up right now. The cake circles, let's say I bought 8 9-inch circles in one package at $4.99. So they're 62 cents each. And let's say I just bought one 14-inch circle. I just bought one. How many 14-inch circles do you need? And let's say I paid $1.09 for it. Then it's going to carry it over here for $1.09. Okay, so now we're at the fondant. We haven't discussed fondant yet at all, except for in the gum paste roses or, up here in our decorations. That is not the fondant that we cover the cake with. That's down here. So I'm guessing that I need 12 pounds of fondant, and 12 pounds is the same thing that I write there, okay? Let's say that I need 12 pounds of fondant, but it comes in a 15-pound container, or even let's say a 20-pound container, okay? And I paid $25 for that container. That means for 12 pounds, it's costing me $15. Now, of course, if you're buying some weird color like purple, 25 pounds of purple, and you're never going to use it in anybody else's cake, then you want to charge the customer for that entire 25 pounds. And what's left over is gravy for you for another project if you ever get it. But I'm going to say I'm going to use 12 pounds of just plain old white fondant. Okay, and then down here are your cake boxes, and if you want to buy a dummy, you wouldn't need one for this cake, of course, but you know, I need one dummy. I paid $5 for it, and here it is. So your total expendable items are $33. Okay, step 6 is what to charge. Don't worry about all of this right now. This is just your summary. You're going to see it again on another page. But what I do want you to look at is this section right here, okay? You have to decide, how are you going to charge the customer? A multiplier of cost or per serving, all right? So let's say I want to charge 2 times my cost because this is for my sister and I'm just covering my cost. If you notice, we didn't have electricity in here. We didn't have that kind of thing that you can't really measure. So you want to charge a minimum of 2 times your cost. That should cover your power. It should, in theory, your power and your water. All right, so if I charge 2 times my cost, it's telling me that my total cost of tier 1 is $25. And if I do it times 2, that's $50.43. Or if I want to charge 5 times my cost, 10 times my cost, because I'm just the most awesome decorator ever, okay? $252. I normally charge 3 times my cost. But let's say you want to charge per serving. And you want to charge $4.50 per serving, there you go. Now, if you look, 3 times your cost, you're actually making more money. So, however I like to do times my cost. And the reason for that is I have my cost. The 2 times, the first round pays for my cost of my cake. My second round pays for my power, my water, blah, blah, blah. And the third time around is my profit for me. That's how I look at it. So I normally charge 3 times my cost. Now you'll notice this is something you only want one or the other. See, choose one. You don't want one. Because if you notice down here, you might see in white 116.14. It adds up whatever you have here for a reason on the summary page. So you just want one or the other. And we're going to look at one more little square. I have shop supplies right here. And that's, toothpicks, paper towels, those little things you can't really add up, the wear and tear on your pans. I usually do, for a typical wedding cake, $15. You can make that whatever you want that to be, okay? $2. I don't care. That's up to you. I normally do $15 for your typical wedding cake. All right, so we're done with tier 1. Now we're going to go to tier 2, and I will see you in a few.